All right, everybody. So I wanted to provide this session in this new release for 2025 Wave 1 because we have even more financial reporting improvements from Microsoft in this release. You can find information on your own about the new capabilities, including the new templates and the enhanced financial reporting capabilities. But for your ease of information, I just wanted to show you a quick comparison of what we saw last fall versus what we're seeing this spring. So last fall, we saw 5 new row definitions and 12 new column definitions, which basically turns into a whole lot of additional reporting options for you that you can steal out of the Contoso test company and apply to your own company for your own use. With the spring wave, we have 2 new row definitions and 4 new column definitions, and I'll talk with you a little bit about what those and what they entail. But the thing that just really, truly impressed me that I'm super excited to share with you today are the number of additional financial reporting improvements in other areas that really just make the financial reporting more modern and more flexible, and honestly, fill a few requests for things that people have been asking for a long time. Let's go into Business Central directly and take a look at all of these new features with the spring release. Inside of Business Central, let's just highlight the new templates that we got with the last release here. So we had all of these. And the thing that I'm super sad to report is the new templates that they advertise showed up and then they went away. This happens sometimes with the new release. We don't know why, but the information is still out there about what the new templates are, so I am going to share that with you. And since I've seen these before, I can explain them just a little bit. So this is the first link that I provided in the slide. You'll see right here this big blue box. Some of the functionality described in this release plan has not been released. This happens, and as much as we'd like to have everything all the time, I'm sure there are all sorts of reasons why things show up in new releases and then may disappear and hopefully come back. So let's take a look at the features that were released in this new thing that we can't see yet. So we have 4 new column definitions and 2 new row definitions. And these really just expand on what we got last fall. The audit lead schedule for the balance sheet and the income statement really are additional detail that goes along with the balance sheet and income statement detailed and summary level reports. So if you think about them as 3 levels, the summary is very high level, the detail has categorized accounts, and the audit lead schedule provides a full list of accounts per category for the balance sheet and the income statement. These schedules are a great tool to use internally for yourself if you're looking to make sure that everything in your section ties, or if you're just looking to be able to do comparatives. I like to, in particular for the income statement audit lead schedule, use this for something like variance analysis. So I know my auditors are coming annually and they're going to ask me about variances over X amount of variance year over year. So I put a year-over-year comparison column layout on top of these audit lead schedules, and I can see by category how things have increased. That way, I'm really not looking at it by account, because you want to look at those things as categories of accounts. So if you look at all of your inventory accounts or all of your fixed asset accounts, or maybe even your marketing expenses or payroll, things in categories, but you can still see the detail. So when you look at the variance, you can see which of those things is sticking out and causing that variance. It saves a lot of research time as an internal tool. So that's one advantage of those audit lead schedules. The other advantage is this is something you can give to your auditors. If you think about it, the balance sheet audit lead schedule and income statement audit lead schedule has full detail of all of the accounts, and these two together will balance to your trial balance. Your auditors are going to want that full detailed trial balance for their auditing software anyways. Why not provide them with the variance detail right away? Be prepared with your story about what the reason is for those variances that show on those reports, and move them along in their decision making and question answering just a little bit faster by providing better information. The other templates that we saw with column definitions that unfortunately are not showing in the new release anymore are the multi-year balance comparisons and quarterly reporting. If we're looking for, I believe the schedule that I saw was 5-year comparison. So if you want to look at something a little bit past year over year, get into your history a little bit more, you can apply any of these column layouts to your balance sheet or income statement for multiple years, for a 5-year view, or for a quarterly view. Lots of us do quarterly reporting, so we want to see that quarterly layout, and that's what's provided here. Hopefully, we will see that come back in the next upcoming versions. In the meantime, I want to run through the 10 other improvements that Microsoft has provided related to our financial reporting. For our first couple of examples, let's go and take a look at our detailed income statement as an example where we can see some of these things. Now, if I view this financial report and I take a look at what I see at the very top of the screen here, I've got a few more things in my options menu. So I'm going to hide this dimensions menu and let's focus on what we see up here. There are a couple of new things to pay attention to here, and the first one is our show all lines. Now this has been here for a while, but I've been particularly frustrated with this one because show all lines was a companion setting with show yes or no on the row definitions. The reason this was frustrating is that for the longest time, this only applied when you printed a financial report or account schedule as they were known previously. Since most companies simply don't print things anymore, we're producing them into Excel or into PDF and sending them out. This was really a pretty useless feature until they made this work so that when we use show all lines, this does create a difference between what we see on the lines. When we look at it on the screen, when we export it to Excel, this is allowing us to have hidden lines. And this is great for more complex calculations. The more complex calculations can be done with multiple lines, more complex formulas that we don't necessarily want to see on the finished financial report, but we want to see the results that calculates against those. So this is a great tool to allow us to start having more complex reports because we have the ability to be able to present this in a clear, concise way with the calculations hidden. One of the other features that has now been available, and honestly, this one has been a long time coming, is the ability to print in both landscape and portrait layout. So you can see that we've now got a report layout here that refers to this. And if I expand this out just a little bit, we can see that I now have a default that's fitting a landscape paper orientation. And I can change this and can even make the default for this particular financial report that fits a portrait orientation. Absolutely wonderful to be able to switch those back and forth without having to reach out to your partner to create a new report for you in order to do that. Now, I often handle that particular need by using Excel templates, but if you're not using an Excel template and you just want a simple print of your report, being able to throw that into a portrait versus landscape orientation seems like a no-brainer, and I'm glad to see it finally showing up inside the product. One of the next things that I really like seeing here is this negative amount format. You see right now, I've got a negative amount showing up as a minus sign because of my setting as a minus sign. If I change this, this is going to put this into parentheses. This particular feature actually got applause at a recent conference. It is so common for people to see a negative value shown in a parentheses in Excel as an example. Again, only having a minus sign inside of Business Central has been a little bit of a thorn in our sides for a while. It's just not as visible, especially when we have negative space values as a dash as well. So adding in the negative amount format using parentheses, big plus for the new version and a tiny improvement that's really having some great impacts. People have been receiving this very well. This next feature we can see on the screen here, but we don't see anything in here because we haven't done anything yet for it, an internal description. If we go back to our list of reports, we can see now that there's a new column called internal description. If I choose to edit the list, I can add an internal description for my report that shows up at the top that just helps me to understand what this report is used for. So I can say, this income statement has categories of expense. Anything that I want to add in there, I can add to my definitions. And when I look at the financial report here, I can see that I've got a little bit of a description that helps me to remember and understand what this report is used for. And you can see that you've got a little bit of room in the text box so you can get a little bit more information here to help you remember or to help others understand what it is that you have designed. Another feature that goes along with this is really intended for external stakeholders. If you look at the definitions, you'll see that we've got some new definitions here called edit, introductory, and closing paragraphs. So this is different from the internal description. The introductory and closing paragraphs allow us kind of a free form text space here that allows us to add words along with our financial reports in addition to what we see with the report format. This is really intended more for your audit format reports where you can have some level of descriptive text in the beginning and the end of your financial report. If these are things that you're provided by your auditors, providing to your board, maybe providing for your bank covenants, you can include introductory and closing paragraphs along with your financial reports with this new feature. This next group of features, I think, is a great first step in further utilization of the Excel templates that people have really just started to use along with financial reporting. In the past versions, we've had create a new Excel template and then update an Excel template. We've added a couple of things and renamed a little something. We can create a new Excel template, which basically means that if we want to create an Excel template that we can use to refresh with the data from our financial reports at any time, this is our starting point. In the future, once we have created that new Excel template and polished it and gave it colors and formatting and made it beautiful, in the future months, then we can update that Excel template with the data that we have each month. So it retains the formatting. We just update the data using this second step. The little bit of relabeling there has made that a little bit more clear, but the cool new thing is this: open in Excel using layout. When we open in Excel, we can choose to utilize a default layout that we define elsewhere. If we open this particular file up here, if this was attached to a particular layout, this would choose that without me having to search for it. So doesn't seem like a very big deal now, but you could have either a different default layout for any of your reports, or you could have multiple different layouts that you use. And I'll show you where that layout is defined. If you look just to the right-hand portion of the screen here, you can now see the new field, default Excel layout, and you can drill into a table where you can keep a library of your financial report Excel layouts. So this is a new feature, very cool. I could see myself creating multiple Excel layouts that would allow me to have different financial reporting layout options for the different audiences that I have. I may have Excel layouts that are a little bit different for myself, maybe a little bit more data oriented. I may have things including more graphs and charts looking more dashboard-like for my executive team. And I may have things that are a little bit more ready to insert into a PowerPoint presentation for my board. Lovely that I'm able to have not only a default Excel layout, but a library of layouts that I can keep track of in here instead of hiding them away in a folder somewhere. This makes them available to more than just myself as the creator of these layouts. and allows other users to use the layouts that I have created and produced. The last three new features, pretty interesting little tidbits that help us out in small ways. This next change is in the column definitions and simply gives us a new defined formula. So if I go into my column definition, I can see in my column type that here are all the ones that I had previously. Month to date is, I used to have to calculate month to date using a comparison date formula in order to add that in there. This may actually solve a design problem that I have in another area that I'll have to share with you at a future date. But I like this addition because this just makes it easy for me to point and click and choose where that month to date is. As long as I'm sitting here, I'm going to show you another feature. We've got now where used, so that we can see which reports are using this particular column definition. So if I choose where used, I can see that this particular column definition is being used in my detailed and my summarized income statement. Where used also exists on my row definition. So if I'm looking for some information here about where this is used, I can see that this is used in this particular report. Nice to be able to trace that through. Sometimes our lists of reports can get a little unorganized, and being able to track that down and figure out what other reports are using these features is helpful. The very last feature that I'm going to show you with the new 2025 Wave 1 release features for financial reporting is another one that's been a long time coming. You all may or may not know that if you go and create a new account on the chart of accounts, so let's go do that right now, create a new accrued expense account. So here's my accrued expense account, and you'll see that even before I've finished typing the name, I've got a warning message that comes up here. It says you've created one or more GL accounts and might need to update your financial reports. Yes, we've needed this for a long time. We recommend that you review your financial reports by choosing, let's see if I can see the rest here, the Open Financial Reports action. It gives me a nice drill down so I can go into my financial reports, and this is simply a reminder that the pickup of new general ledger accounts is not automatic. This is something that we need to keep track of, and you can take care of this when you design your financial reports by designing things in entire groups for your account numbers. So by including every single account number on your balance sheet reports or your income statement reports so that it picks up any range of reports, so that when a new account is added, it just naturally flows there. But this doesn't work for some reports where we have individual accounts that are reported against. And the trial balance is the best example ever. The trial balance has an entire list of single accounts. If you add an account to your general ledger, you've got to go add it to your trial balance. So this new feature gives us a quick reminder that if you're adding an account, you really need to pay attention. Make sure that those are added into your financial reports. A couple new row definitions and column definitions coming our way, I hope, but 10 other features related to financial reporting that are just really fantastic. And I think will go a long way toward making this a more powerful tool that finance users are continually more enthusiastic about using because it's getting more modern and more user-friendly and more automated. Give them a try. I hope you enjoy them.
Does anyone have any questions?
Well, I was glad to see that there was a little bit of applause for our negative values on the reports. I always love it when accountants get excited about features like that.
We also had someone say, hide empty rows. Yippee!
Yep. Very good. Well, if we don't have questions, that's fine. We can keep rolling. If you guys have questions that you think of after the fact too, you can always contact any of us for the questions that you have as you start to apply these new things from the release to your own company.